Welcome to Kilobots 40, the 2018 Canadian National Championships here at Saskatchewan Entertainment Expo at Fairyweight Exhibition Park, presented to you by the Saskatoon Combat Robotics Club. Next up, we're going to have some Fairyweights. These are the 150-gram weight class, so a third the size of the ones you just saw, but nevertheless still quite capable. So this is a fairly new weight class for us. We don't normally do these, but I think we started this about 3 years ago. 150 grams for these Fairyweights. Still very vicious robots. I mean, everything's smaller, the robot's smaller and the weapon's smaller, which means that you don't have to hit them as hard, and yet you can still do some serious damage. And these end up being quite a challenge because some things don't get smaller. Like, it's hard to get smaller radio receivers and motor controllers and those sorts of things. So you end up having to make different trade-offs in your designs. And I have seen anything from like a mouse to a cheese grater used as a platform for these robots. It's hilarious. These ones I think are going to be much more custom made, kind of your typical style of fighting robot, and using some of the other weapons that we would normally use. For example, in the blue corner there, actually it should be in the red corner, so David's going to bring them over here. Stumpy Unleashed is a vertical disc bar spinner thing. Is it a bar, a disc? Well, yeah, okay. It's a disc with a big tooth in it. So fairly standard design. These works pretty well. I can see he's used a bit of a different armor on this one to save weight, though. So the front still has a titanium wedge, but the whole back is made of clear polycarbonate Lexan plastic. That stuff holds up pretty well against most of these spinning, hard-hitting robots, but certainly lighter and easier to work with in some of these small cases. Speaking of this event, this is our Canadian National Championships. So this is the big one for the year. And we're bringing in people from all over the world. We've got people from across Canada, lots of people from Edmonton, Calgary, Ontario, and we've also got people coming from the States. We've got people from Florida, San Jose, we've got people from Indiana. So lots of people coming with us today. In the past, we've even had people join us from Britain, which is pretty crazy. One from the Netherlands, or New Zealand. I always get the two mixed up. But yeah, lots of interest in this one here today. So thank you to all the competitors who've come out and joined us today. We really appreciate being able to put on a big show for everybody here at Sask Expo. So two very similar styles of robots. Andrea's Nibbles over in the red or the blue corner there. Also a vertical a disc bar combo, kind of hard to say. It's a disc with a big frickin' tooth on it, so I mean, that's kind of like a bar, right? Slightly different designs. I see that Andrea's on both sides has some fairly big, I'll just say spikes coming out the top of that weapon. That's mainly to make sure that when it gets flipped over, it doesn't ride on the weapon blade and stall it out. David's has a small version of that. I think it's mostly maybe just used as a mount for it. It looks like it doesn't quite extend above the weapon. Otherwise, both very short, wide robots, which is going to be important because they will tend to tip up on their wheels when they turn with that weapon spinning. And both have a nice big titanium wedge on the front. So again, very similar style of robots. Basically going to come down to driving, I believe, in this case. Uh-oh. All right, both drivers are ready. We're going to start it off in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right, and there we go. So Stumpy Unleashed, get the weapon spin up. That thing is rumbling around like crazy. Unfortunately, I'm hearing from the judges here that Andrea's weapon is not working in this combat, so going to be a bit of a pushing match for her. Thankfully, it does have a big wide wedge on the front, so that can still be useful, and there is still one push-out open at the side. She is able to, looks like, get the advantage when it comes to pushing underneath her opponent, so that's good, as she's coming up against that vertical spinner on Stumpy Unleashed. Stumpy's weapon is spinning, but seems to be having trouble keeping its feet on the ground. I think it's maybe just a little bit heavily balanced to the front. Oh, Andrea pushes him into the blue hazard and out the side, so that is a quick but definite win for, what's the name of this robot again? I forget. Nibbles! Congratulations, Andrea. For the one in the blue corner. Excellent. And as if that wasn't enough for David, he's going to get to go again here in the Fairyweight class. We're going to have Ethan driving Beaky in the red corner up against David's Scoop in the blue corner. So Beaky in previous ones has had a little like finger thing on top that he could, a beak. Oh, it's a, I get the joke. Okay, yes. Yes, Beaky used to have a beak on top, which he could, you know, fling around like a finger and was basically good for waving at his opponent and flipping himself back upside down. In this case, he's changed it around, so now the beak is underneath. He can lift his entire front end. So like it's now a what would you call that exactly?
I don't know.
You had a different name for it.
Oh, an underbeak.
Yeah, now it's an underbeak. I won't go there. Anyway, now he can lift the entire thing up. And so now it's basically like a lifter flipper, except for the entire body is going to be used as the lifter, which should be pretty cool, actually. I'd never actually seen that used before, and yet it, in hindsight, makes perfect sense, because usually your lifting arm is the weakest part of you, right? You can put all the weight into your arm or your body and all that stuff. But in this case, it's actually very well protected. It's completely underneath your robot. So now the big part that's meant to get hit is the lifter that you have to present. So it should be very interesting. We'll see how well it holds up in combat. It's going to be going up against something else that looks like a lifter. A big wedge. Yep. Scoop. This is a scoop. Oh, it is a lifting scoop. Oh, excellent. And a very interesting one. It's got a cutout in the front with a wedge. Two very unique designs. I haven't seen any of these before. So we're going to have Ethan's Beaky in the red corner up against David's The Scoop in the blue corner. Both drivers are ready, so we will start in 3, 2, 1, fight. And David immediately driving into the wall as Beaky comes up and tries to get behind him. Does get underneath the wedge, but flies around to the side very quickly here. Oh, nice big flip over and a bit of a pinch there by the Scoop. So Beaky is now upside down. Usually this is where he would use the beak to flip himself over, but it looks like he can use just about anything. It really likes to tip back onto the side. Beaky's sort of pinning him into the corner there just for a moment. If it does come, oh, and a nice flip there by the Scoop, putting Beaky upside down, who is now has to try and find a way to right himself. Looks like he's going to try and flip himself back over off of his opponent. Unfortunately, he doesn't have a way to activate the Scoop when he's upside down, so kind of stuck there at the moment. I can see the finger moving around, but it's not doing much. In the meantime, Scoop getting over top of him and trying to pinning him into the corner here. So at the end of 3 minutes, if there isn't a clear victor, we'll go to a judge's decision. And a big part of what they look at is aggression and control shown throughout the match. So if you see them like pinning each other in the corner and just sitting there, it's because they've got 10 seconds to hold them, and they're trying to say like, hey, yeah, I'm totally dominating in this case here. So in case there's any question about it, you know, we're winning. Beaky now backups on its right side, trying to get underneath the Scoop, who goes flying towards the side push out there, but stops before he makes it over, so that's good. And now over towards the blue side push out once again. Scoop getting a great flip on Beaky, who's upside down once again. And just holding him against the wall. Beaky very vulnerable in that position. He can drive, but not very well. He's kind of hung up on himself as the Scoop starts gnawing on him. Getting underneath the one side there. I think he wants to give him a flip, just to flip him, but at the same time he doesn't want to put him back on his wheels, no doubt. And there he goes, drives into him, and is just balanced enough that if Beaky drives into that wedge of Scoop, he's able to flip himself back over, but not able to do it himself while just driving around. Just over a minute left in this 3-minute combat as these two 150-gram Fairyweights going at it. David and Ethan here. Ethan's Beaky getting just underneath David's Scoop there in the blue corner, trying to give it a bit of a flip. Getting a little bit of a tip underneath the side of it there, bonking into it and pushing it back up on its wheels, but lays clean again and goes in for another hit. Both of these really just vying for position. I mean, it looks like they're just spinning in circles, but honestly, this is very delicate driving. They're both trying to make sure that they're pointing at their opponent as a screw goes meandering across the arena there. Not sure where that one came from. Trying to get around each other because one good grab and they could just direct them right to that outside. So this is actually very tactical driving going on here right now. Just over 20 seconds left. Scoop up on top of Beaky. Beaky trying to use the beak, but pushes his wheels off the ground instead of the wedge. Uh-oh, we're going to have to move that next time.
Yeah, poorly designed.
Poorly designed. Ethan's going, yeah, this is not working. 8 seconds left to go. Big pushing match between both of them. Again, trying to flip, but just pushing himself up. 3, 2, 1, and that is the end of it. So 3 minutes in, this will go to a judge's decision. Good job to both Ethan and David for driving. Let's hear it for them. This is, it's difficult to go 3 minutes of driving, boy. It is absolutely nerve-wracking, especially in these pushing, flipping matches, because you just never know when you're going to get caught off guard and just fly out the side. So very good for both of them, holding it in for that entire 3 minutes, as our 3 judges are going to have to decide who was the victor here. Now, there's 3 categories that we consider: damage, aggression, and control. I think one of those is right out. So what's really going to come down to is aggression and control. And that really basically comes down to, are you going at your opponent? Are you directing where they have to drive? And so on. So it was unanimous. The win will go to David with Scoop. Congratulations. Definitely well deserved on that one. He was able to really push Beaky around, managed to pin him against the wall a lot and keep him in the corners. So definitely did well on that one. All right, so the red corner here, Paul with Pissed Off Unicorn. In the blue corner, Brian has Derpy Dozer. Both drivers are ready, so we will start in 3, 2, 1, fight. Oh, Derpy Dozer's going fast and gets over here just in time for Unicorn to get spun up. Unicorn now upside down after bouncing off, and Derpy pinning him in the corner for just a moment. Now, incidentally, even though he doesn't have a good way to right himself, he can flip around enough just by spinning that eventually it does land on its wheels, or at least bounces into stuff. In the meantime, Derpy's going to try and direct him around. There is one open side here, so as that pissed off Unicorn is just flipping around, it's possible that Derpy could direct him towards the outer wall there into the blue side push out and capture a win for sure. Looks like he's going to try to do that as Paul is very carefully adjusting the speed of the spinner, I see, trying to control the movement. It's very difficult to do. Derpy trying to find a good angle of attack on it. Right now, Unicorn's not very dangerous because the spinning weapon is the part that's stuck against the ground, and it's just the car, essentially, that is bouncing around. And it falls on its wheels! He's back in the match. There you go, yes. Let's hear it for Paul. Good job getting back right-sided. Now has another chance at this one as Derpy is derping, running into the red hazard. There we go, lines up a nice fast one there. What he really wants to do, I can see, is just go really fast in one direction, straight at Unicorn, and just knock it over. Unfortunately, he's missing a back wheel. Oh no, and he's driven out the side. So the winner is Paul with Pissed Off Unicorn. Nothing like a win by default. That is one of the tricky things, those really fast driving robots, especially pushers and wedges, lifters, is that you're trying to push your opponent out, but in order to do that, you have to go towards the out as well. And you want to try and get your opponent out while not going out yourself. And that is a lot easier said than done. The next Fairyweights coming up will be Andrew with Intensity versus Travis with Troubleshooter. So in the right corner here, you can see Andrew's Intensity, a very tiny little robot. Are those model car wheels?
Stock car wheels.
Stock cars, nice.
They're an aluminum wheel with a foam tire.
Oh, they're okay. So they're actually aluminum wheels. I thought it was just painted plastic. That's pretty cool. So yeah, he's got wheels off of a scale stock car, aluminum hubs there with some foam wheels on top. And this is basically a smaller version of what a lot of the guys would make in the 1 pound class. That's actually quite impressive to be able to make that same sort of style this small. And you can see that beautiful custom-made platform he's got for holding the whole thing together. That's actually an important part. You'll notice that anything with a dangerous spinning weapon always has some kind of a clamp or pin or something in it to prevent that weapon from spinning, because in the unlikely event that for some reason the thing fires up while it's in your hand, you'd rather not lose it. And then in the blue corner there, Travis is setting up Troubleshooter. This one here is got an undercutting horizontal spinning blade, a very, very low spinning blade. It basically rides on the weapon shaft so that this thing is sitting right on the ground. It can get underneath of most robots and dig right into the wheels of them. Looks like this one might be, this is a new frame. I don't think I've seen this one before. That kind of looks like it might be 3D printed. But it's also got a big fiberglass plate on top, which will probably help because I wouldn't want to trust the 3D printed material to be the entire structure, but just making up the bulk isn't such a bad idea. Intensity, you'll notice, has, as he always does with all of his titanium stuff, he's got titanium slatted armor on top, and also that titanium wedge all the way across the front too. And I think even that spinning toothed blade thing is also titanium.
Solid, hardened steel.
Hardened steel, ah, nice, very nice. Both drivers are ready, so we will start in 3, 2, 1, fight. Oh, there you go. For a moment there, it looked like Andrew couldn't get spun up, but he is. Oh, and immediately, what was a beautifully clean, nice-sounding mechanism has started squealing like crazy. Oh, there you go. Oh, I see. It's grinding on the ground. Oh, well, still works. Or on its own forks. Ah, it's got 2 little forks under there. Oh my goodness, what just came out? That was the weapon from Troubleshooter. Troubleshooter is now off his wheels, and Andrew has no intentions of putting him back on his wheels. So that vertical spinning disc on Intensity has done it. And, oh, there we go. Travis is back on his wheels. Good job. Absolutely no weapon. In fact, the entire motor frame has come off with the weapon still attached to it. So he is now a piece of plastic with wheels. And Intensity upside down, its weapon not able to do anything at the moment either since it's in the wrong position. So a bit of a pushing match between the two plastic boys that are with no open sides. So they're going to have to try to either one of them, well, if Intensity can get on his wheels, that will be advantageous for him, but doing so will be a little bit tricky. And other than that, there's also those hazards out there, which at this weight class can do a bit. Geez, he's end up on his face without the wheels on the ground and with the weapon kind of jammed up there. He's not able to get him moving. He's got to show movement within 10 seconds, but I don't think he's going to be able to. And that's the end of time. Count it out. The win goes to Travis, the troubleshooter. That is unfortunate. Yeah. That is how it goes. A lot of times you'll notice on the robots they've got weird shapes, maybe even like a screw sticking out the end or something like that, but we'll always try and make sure that no matter how the robot lands, it can't get stuck on one side with its wheels off the ground. Unfortunately, the weirdest things happen, and as you can see here, if that weapon lands in just the right orientation, you can get stuck with it flat and not be able to move. We're going to have Dennis's Stumpy Unleashed. David's, I wrote the wrong name down. Definitely David with Stumpy Unleashed versus Ethan with Beaky. So Stumpy, both of these have fought earlier on in the rounds. And Stumpy Unleashed has a little vertical spinner on it, actually quite powerful hitting little thing. Ethan's Beaky is a modified version of one that he used to run. Instead of the beak being on top, he's actually got a beak underneath him. So basically he's got a little finger wedge lifter thing that sits underneath of his robot, and when it works appropriately, it actually lifts his entire robot's body up as a lifting wedge arm, which is actually quite beneficial in many ways, because normally when you have these arms extended out in front of you, they're very vulnerable, they're very weak, as you just saw with the finger coming off of one of the minions. Because you have to put most of your weight into your batteries and your robot and all the rest of it, that weapon that's sticking out tends to be very fragile. But this design here, the entire robot is the wedge, and the very delicate little lifting arm is completely underneath the robot. Unfortunately, it's maybe not in the greatest position on his robot. He has a tendency to lift the back end of the body up instead of the front end. So I'm sure he'll be making a revision to that next time around. But for now, he's going to see what he can do with his current design. Certainly not going to go back down from a fight. David, once you're ready. All right, both drivers are ready. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right, Stumpy is now unleashed as he gets that little vertical spinner going. Just a tiny little thing. You can see it's maybe a little bit off balance right now as the whole robot is bouncing around. And I think the center of mass is maybe not in the greatest place, because as he drives forward, his entire front end kind of lifts up on him. Meantime, Ethan taking Beaky in here nice and fast, and as you can see, here's the problem. He gets underneath him and he goes to lift up the front end, and his back wheels just come off the ground. Not the part he wanted to lift. Unfortunately, that does happen sometimes. That said, there's still that big open push out over there. Oh, nice shot there. Beaky pushing Stumpy Unleashed into the red hazard. These hazards are really nasty at this 150 gram class because the robots get smaller, but those hazards don't. So what was just an annoyance before is now actually quite vicious. And Beaky getting flipped upside down as he ramps off the front of Stumpy, flipping himself back over again. It's got just an angle on it that he can't flip himself, but as soon as he gets on top of his opponent, then he can just right himself, no problem. Now getting underneath and kind of hooking on Stumpy. You can see that there's some little protrusions at the top of that ramp that kind of help to hold on to his opponent, as well as hopefully making sure he doesn't get stuck when he's upside down. But unfortunately, he's not able to keep his opponent on there entirely as Stumpy just keeps ramping over top. That Stumpy is actually quite fast, but you can see every time he hits the gas, the entire front end comes up, which kind of negates the purpose of that wedge on the front. It's just kind of just like, here, I'll remove my armor for you so that you can get to the good parts. Thankfully, he's up against a wedge lifter type bot, so not worried about getting destroyed necessarily, but does have to try and avoid getting lifted, which, nice shot. Look at that. Beaky taking advantage of him, lifting the front end up, gets underneath, pushes him into the red hazard, bounces him clear across the arena. And once again, Beaky getting underneath, kind of hooking on those little protrusions, this time pushing him into the blue saw. But instead of hitting him hard into it, he's going to try and grind him against it. Not a bad plan. Ethan definitely taking advantage of the pushing match here. And so far, unfortunately, Stumpy's weapon is running, but I haven't seen it do much. It's just not getting a bite in against the front end of Beaky. Less than a minute to go. Both competitors still very fierce in this pushing match, but Beaky does appear to be the better designed bot when it comes to pushing, since really the point of Stumpy is to hit his opponents hard. So he's definitely getting the better of the pushing match so far. Just about 30 seconds left. And Ethan trying to get him over towards the blue side there. Of course, he doesn't want to go out himself. Oh, jeez. But he narrowly manages to take him off of the red hazard into that outside. And now I think Ethan has a good idea what to do with this, because that worked awfully well. And certainly puts him in a better position. A lot less likely to hurt himself in it. 10 seconds to go as Dennis bounces himself onto the corner there off the red hazard. And now upside down, but is still able to move, and time is up. That is the end of the fight. Congratulations, both Ethan and David on that one. That was Ethan with Beaky up against David with Stumpy Unleashed. And this is going to go to a judge's decision. We've got 3 judges, and they have 3 categories: damage, aggression, and control that they must consider. And all 3 of those count towards your final score for how well you did and who will inevitably be our winner. Yeah, it's unanimous. The win will go to Beaky. Congratulations, Ethan. All right, next up in the Fairyweights, we have Derpy Dozer versus Intensity. Brian has Derpy Dozer here in the red corner. See it aptly named, given that it is basically just a big pushing machine, but a very effective one. It's fast, it's nimble. That big wedge across the front, really good at capturing its opponents and pushing it around. And it's going up against Intensity in the blue corner there, being driven by Andrew, and that one has a big vertical spinning weapon on it. It doesn't look that big, but in comparison to its size, it's actually huge, because that's about the same size as we would put on a 1-pound robot, but these are a third that size, so that's actually quite a large weapon. I think that might weigh as much as the rest of the robot. All right, both drivers are ready. We will start the match in 3, 2, 1, fight. Man, Insanity makes quite a noise, and coming in very quickly there, bouncing into the wedge there, and already taking quite a little chunk out of that wedge. That little spinner is effective. Hard hit on it there, flipping it upside down. Derpy Dozer now upside down. I can see madly flipping switches. I think he's got some stuff set up to help him control it when it's upside down. Another hard hit as another chunk and pieces go flying here. So far it's all on the wedge, but both sides of the wedge are taking quite a bit of damage. And another hard flip there. Every time he makes contact, he's sending them in the air. I mean, these things are only the size of a deck of cards, and yet he's sending it 2 feet in the air. So very hard hitting little weapon there. And you can see how much momentum is built up in that weapon. It throws itself across the arena as it bounces off the floor. Derpy's drive maybe having a couple little issues. It's still very fast, but I think he's having a little bit of trouble getting it to drive in the right direction as things are getting a little bit bent up. Sanity, on the other hand, holding up very nicely as he just tries to get one square hit on him. It's hard because Derpy's flying all over the place, intentionally so. And in the meantime, Andrew's just trying to hit at the right time so that he can put that weapon where it counts. And there he does again, putting it into the weapon, into the blade on the front of Derpy, which is now not only nicked, but actually quite bent. 1 wheel is now gone. Derpy's down to 3 wheels. Thankfully, he's got 4 drive wheels, so it's still working. And this is going to be a difficult fight at this point for Derpy. There's still a possibility at any point that Insanity could, get hooked on a magnet that's stuck in the middle of the arena like that. Thankfully for him, he was able to get his way off of it. Oh, all the way up to the roof. How high is that? Yeah. My goodness, what a hit. But something has gone wrong with Insanity on that hit. And he's got no control. Nothing's moving. It's dead. Time is up. He's counted out. The win will go to Brian with Derpy Dozer. Sometimes you just have to outlast your opponent. That does happen with the vertical, well, any of the heavy, hard spinning weapons. I mean, as you saw, that guy threw himself across the arena many times. And sometimes on just a hard hit, things go wrong on the inside. You short something momentarily, a wire comes loose, who knows what, but that can be enough to disable a robot. The previous fight that Pissed Off Unicorn had, it spent an awful lot of time upside down, but was able to keep moving all the same. It's got that tri-winged overhead spinning bar thing, which is actually quite powerful. It's very large.
My motors got wrecked and I burned up my speed controller, so
Okay.
I improvised. So you know.
Okay.
We call him Mac the Knife.
Oh gosh, that thing looks dangerous. So anyway, yes, he's got this tri-wing overhead spinning bar, and using that, if he gets upside down, it's a little hard to drive, but he can still flip himself around quite a lot, and that was allowed him to keep driving and to at least get into a position where eventually he was able to flip over, and spent that way through most of the match, but in the end, his opponent ended up going out. That is going up against Troubleshooter, being driven by Travis. Travis tells me that he had some trouble with one of his speed controllers, one of the controllers that run the motors, and as a result he's had to improvise. Now I don't know exactly what it was that he changed, but I can tell you that he is now Mac the Knife, or at least that's what we've got on the front of that thing. I believe this, yeah, a spinner of some sort, didn't it? Oh yes, it had an underbar, a spinner underneath it, but I guess he's had to take that motor controller and use it for drive instead. So now he's got a big knife out the front. He did actually spend most of the rest of the other fight without a motor anyway because it absolutely disintegrated after one hit, so he's probably used to this at this point. We'll just give both of our drivers a moment here to get everything calibrated. Good as it gets, right, Paul? All right, the drivers are ready. We will start in 3, 2, 1, fight. Pissed off Unicorn getting up to speed here as Troubleshooter hangs back for a moment, trying to find the right opportunity to enter. Good couple of hits there by Pissed Off Unicorn. That weapon holding up nicely, getting quite a bit of energy into it. At this size, you don't hear a lot of noise coming off of them, but nonetheless, they are able to do quite a lot of damage to their opponents. And, oh, Travis is having trouble with the right wheel there, but one good hit from the Unicorn, and off it goes. Working again. You see that that big knife finger thing on the front, actually pretty effective against Unicorn because it's far enough out of the body that it's not really going to hurt him to take a hit, and in the meantime, oh yeah, there you go. It can get into that weapon and tangle it up for a moment, just stall it out long enough that he can get in and start pushing. Travis maybe having a bit of trouble driving here. He's headed off to the other side of the arena while Pissed Off Unicorn's trying to get things spun up to give him a chance to get it going again. Just under 2 minutes remaining. Travis's side, that blue side there, does have the push out open, so I think that's what he's going to hope to do with Troubleshooter, is be able to push Unicorn out there. Unicorn definitely the smaller, or a faster robot, but looks like he's now hung up on the weapon on Troubleshooter. They are stuck to each other, so we're going to pause the match, and we're going to do an unstick here. Does happen sometimes. I think some tape might have come loose or something. I can see a bunch of stuff hanging out of the bottom of the Unicorn there. Oh yeah, that finger's all the way inside of that robot. Oh, under the robot. What's that? Oh, magnets. Force magnets. There we go. That's about right. There we go. Close enough.
Don't get under me. You'll get stuck again.
It's the problem with having a steel thing is your wedge, because every time you get under them, you're going to end up getting stuck to them. Trapped in again, Paul, when you're ready. All right, count in again. You're 3, 2, 1. Keep fighting. Uh-oh. Travis's wheel not working again. There we go. Unicorn's working again. So Unicorn's drive is having issues, as his Troubleshooters. He's blaming the magnet for it. Actually, is probably dragging on the ground a bit. In the meantime, Troubleshooter missing one half of the drive here, which is going to give Unicorn a good chance to get in, and sure enough, unsticks the wheel or whatever the heck is going on with that. That was an interesting failure mode on that one, but at least it does get going again. She's almost got stuck. Oh, there you go. Now the whole tire is coming off of the wheel hub. Now we understand. Now the question is, what's Unicorn going to do against him? He's got 1 minute left. He's got a good chance to rip him apart. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to do much.
If I can hit you.
Ooh, that sure showed that blue hazard a thing or two. Now he's just got to hit his opponent. There you go. That's a nice one. Into the little knife thing at the front. Yeah, the knife. Hoping to be able to take out the other. Oh, there you go. He's got the weapon off. Looks like the tape finally let go. And now hoping to try and get the other wheel, I think. If he can get to it in time. Uh-oh. And
Too close to the knockout.
he doesn't want to knock himself out. That's fair. On the other hand, he might just do it to himself as he's trying to wiggle his way around, but he's on the wrong side of that red hazard. That thing tends to throw things at the blue push-out, so he doesn't want to hit it. Just under 15 seconds to go as he gets tangled up between two spinning things there, the hazard and pissed off unicorn. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time is up. That'll be the end of the match. Congratulations to both competitors. Let's hear it for Travis and Paul. Unfortunately for Troubleshooter there, few things broke, no doubt. Okay.
Yeah, this was a
right. Okay.
Excuse me. Well done, Paul.
It's unanimous. The win goes to Paul with Pissed Off Unicorn. Congratulations. We're going to have Andrea driving Nibbles over in the red corner, up against David with Scoop in the blue corner. Pardon the interruption, just having a bit of a juggle of the schedule here to make sure everything fits in today. So Nibbles in the red corner here with that big vertical spinning disc. Just had a quick bit of surgery to solder up a few things that weren't working prior. Very nice looking little robot, I must say. As Andrea said, there's a 50-50 shot that the weapon spins the right way. If it does, it'll be very vicious. If it doesn't, it'll be kind of funny. It'll work, it just won't work as well. Although it might work particularly well against the kind of robot that it's up against, which is Scoop over in the blue corner being driven by David. That one has a big scoop on the front. I mean, it is what it is. It's like a big shovel on that he can activate and lift up his opponent. If he can flip him over upside down, especially with something like Nibbles here. If that thing is upside down, it's going to be a lot less effective. So that flipper could be very useful against it, or he can simply just get them off their wheels and drive them out the outside, which I think is what he's hoping to do. Oh, there we go. Now it's bound. Tap, make sure it works. Uh-oh. That weapon is a little bit jammed, unfortunately, so might gonna have to hope for a good hit to get it started. Once it gets started, it'll probably be okay. So competitors, when you're ready, hit the buttons. All right, and we will start it in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right. As stated, Nibbles' weapon doesn't appear to be working quite yet. Might get started as the fight goes on, but we'll have to see. In the meantime, does seem to have the lower wedge. That's actually very effective there. And now, sure enough, Scoop has flipped her upside down. In this configuration, going to be a lot harder to get in any kind of a pushing match. Does have wheels on the ground and has a couple of little things you can slide around on, but is not going to have a nice low wedge to get under her opponent with. As Scoop is now using Scoop as kind of more of a clamping tool as opposed to a lifter, and ends up flipping her back upside down. So now Nibbles is back on her wheels cleanly, and hoping to get some kind of a push here. There is the blue push out open there, but Scoop gets underneath, gives a good quick flip. Now getting onto the other side. Oh, but she's able to self-right herself against the wall, and is now tipped on her edge. There is a flat side, unfortunately. And so with that, she's not going to be able to get back on her wheels and continue, so it will get counted down. And that is the end of it. Scoop wins. Congratulations, David. We will have Beaky versus Troubleshooter. Beaky also driven by Ethan, so I'll have to run and grab those. And Troubleshooter also driven by Travis. So these guys get to face off against each other again, but this time with smaller robots. So Ethan has Beaky over in the red corner here. And basically the idea behind this one here is it's a wedge bot with a lifter, except for instead of, it used to have a beak on top, little lifting arm thing that it could use to like poke its opponents and move them around. Instead now, the beak is underneath and it uses it to lift the entire body up. So the entire wedge on the front is now the lifting arm. A very ingenious idea. So far it's worked okay, other than the beak being in maybe not the perfect position. Has a tendency to lift its back wheels off the ground rather than lifting the lifter off the front. And then in the blue corner there, Travis has Troubleshooter. This one earlier on, unfortunately, burnt out one of the motor controllers, and so as a result, he's had to get rid of the spinning weapon. And now he's just got a big blade on the front. But nonetheless, it's still able to be an effective little pusher, and that blade is long enough that it can get in the middle of an opponent, jam up any weapons they might have, and direct them around the arena.
Do we have 3 judges? Where's the third? Nathan, ready for judging?
All right, the drivers are ready, the judges are ready. We'll start in 3, 2, 1, fight. And quickly out they go here. Beaky trying to get underneath of Troubleshooter. Wants to flip him over as best as he can. And Troubleshooter, oh, look, interesting, okay. Look, I'm not sure which one did the lifting there, but it worked out all right for Troubleshooter because he really only needs those 2 back wheels on the ground. So lifting that knife blade off the ground isn't really going to harm him at all. As Beaky tries to push Troubleshooter's weapon into the blue hazard there, and Troubleshooter turns and does the same thing to him. Unfortunately, not a very hard hit, but still manages to push him into it all the same, as they're both vying for position here, trying to be the one to push the other one into the hazard, or perhaps even outside.
It's more fun.
Ethan calling for them to do a switch and go to the red hazard, as Beaky goes bouncing off of that red hazard all the way over to the blue corner. As we get into the smaller weight classes here, the hazards don't get any less dangerous. In fact, even more so, because they're just that much bigger compared to the robots. So all it takes is one good grab, and it can toss you clean across the arena. This one here is all about the driving, and both of these guys are very experienced drivers. You can tell because they're actually able to face each other and to push each other around and constantly be in this pushing match. If not for the experience they have driving, they would basically just be circling around aimlessly, as Beaky gets underneath Troubleshooter, tries to get a quick push to the blue side, but unfortunately slips off. Beaky now up on top of that wedge blade thing on Troubleshooter. And once again vying for position. That time the Beak actually did lift quite well, but drives off almost immediately. Beaky getting underneath Travis's Troubleshooter once again here, trying to push him to the red side, but you'll see that right there. Beaky did have him lined up very well, but Travis was making sure to control part of the direction because he was turned sideways, so he can drive himself sideways and away from that push-out. Now the weapon of Travis is like half stuck in Beaky's lifter time things, which he was almost able to use to push him around. Now high-sided on Beaky. Beaky pushing him back in towards the red hazard there, leaving him no choice but to drive off in that direction. And that low knife wedge on the front of Troubleshooter actually doing a pretty good job of getting underneath of Beaky. Beaky does not go all the way to the floor because there are those 2 little lefter wedgelet things on the edges. 35 seconds remaining. Once again, a very tense pushing match here. They're not just butting heads, but they're really dancing around each other, trying to get that one big strike that is going to be the one to push them on the outside edge, and especially as they're in front of that blue hazard there, or the blue push-out, I should say. One quick move, and one of them could go out, whether they intended to be the one to push in that direction or not. 13 seconds still going. Still trying to get that one big hit, just to position themselves correctly, but both counter-steering very well. 2, 1, time is up. That's the end of the fight. Well driven to both Ethan and Travis. My condolences to the judges, as they're going to have to decide which one of them showed the most aggression and control. I think we can just count out damage for the time being. But very well driven by both of them. Each one getting a fairly equal amount of pushing time in there, I think. And doing a good job of trying to force their opponent towards those push-outs, but neither of them quite successful in that endeavor. But the judges have decided that the winner will be Beaky. Congratulations, Ethan. Now we're going to do a Fairyweight fight. These are 150-gram robots, so 1/3 of the size that you just saw, but no less fast and dangerous, with Brian's Derpy Dozer up against Andrea's Nibbles. Unfortunately, Nibbles is not functioning right now, so Andrea is going to have to forfeit this one. So the win will go to Brian with Derpy Dozer. And this one is going to be David driving Scoop versus Paul with Pissed Off Unicorn. The Scoop, as the name implies, is a little lifting thing here. It's got both a low little wedge in the front to ride on and also to provide a bit of protection against weapons coming in. It also has a complete wedge across the front that is actuated so that he can lift it up, use it as a lifter or a clamper, flip his opponent over, get him off their wheels, and at least suspend them long enough so that he is able to drive them out the side if possible. Paul, on the other hand, joining us from Florida. You may recognize him from BattleBots if you happen to see Witch Doctor driving on there. He's driving Pissed Off Unicorn today, which is basically a tri-wing design, an overhead spinning bar. Actually been quite capable so far. It's surprisingly resilient against taking hits. It's found itself upside down and flying around quite often, and yet keeps managing to bounce back up and keep going. Hoping for some chaos, maybe even some damage against Scoop in order to put him out. And it's going to be difficult for Scoop to get in and push him around very much because that weapon, that tri-wing overhead spinning bar, completely surrounds his body as he's running. So going to be difficult to get in on him, but possibly that low, long Scoop will be able to get underneath the weapon and into the little car body underneath, which is the key part to getting control of that robot. The drivers are ready. The match will begin in 3, 2, 1, fight. And you can see Pissed Off Unicorn getting up to speed as Scoop comes around the side, trying to position himself as well as he can. He still doesn't want Pissed Off Unicorn to be able to drive towards him in any kind of controlled manner, but he is still going to have to try and find a good opportunity in there. You can see that overhead spinning bar throwing Scoop across the arena. And once again, towards the closed push out on the blue side. Scoop looks like it's holding up well enough against these hits. And even though they're tiny little robots and seems like, you know, it shouldn't hurt that much. I mean, the weapons are small, but the robots are small too. So there's a lot of energy stored up in that overhead spinning bar, and it can definitely break things. You can see bright white titanium sparks coming off the wedge on the front of Scoop there as it strikes that overhead spinning bar, which I think is also a piece of titanium. Oh, geez, and bouncing into the blue hazard there. These hazards, against the 150-gram Fairyweights, these hazards are quite formidable. Nice hard hit there, but it looks like Pissed Off Unicorn is the one that goes flying. That is one of the risks with these horizontal spinners, is that when they make contact with their opponent, both of them go flying in opposite directions, and it can be just as bad for the attacker as it is for the attacked. Keeps running into the Scoop on the front of Scoop, and ramping off, almost goes over the wall. That was a close one there for Paul, Pissed Off Unicorn. But another good hit on the side of the wedge of Scoop there and sending it across the arena. Looks like Scoop might be slightly coming apart at the arms. I'm not sure if that was the original design, but he ticks off Pissed Off Unicorn and drives straight out the side. The win goes to Paul. Congratulations, Pissed Off Unicorn. That was an unfortunate one for David there with Scoop. He was doing a great job of driving it and approaching from the right angles, but in the chaos that ensues from one of those hits, just ends up getting misdirected and quickly finds himself heading out the side. Beaky has a very unique design here. It used to have a beak sticking out the top, so think like a small actuated finger or something like that. But he's decided to put it underneath the robot now, which means that when he activates it, it actually lifts the entire wedge on the front up, like one big lifting arm, as you can see as he's waving it around there. This has been surprisingly effective. It does mean that that wedge is now the lifting arm. It means that it is very well protected, very heavy, very capable of lifting opponents. Unfortunately, the positioning of it has shown to be a bit of a weakness, as in a lot of those lifting cases, he ends up lifting his back end off the ground instead of being able to lift the opponent on the front. Derpy Dozer on the other side, a big, very fast, maneuverable robot with a hard wedge on front, hoping to push his opponent around.
Everybody's ready?
All right, we are ready to go, so we will begin in 3, 2, 1, fight. And look at Derpy Dozer coming in really fast there. Nice box rush, trying to get in front of Beaky as much as possible. He really wants a push out on either side, although now he's having a bit of trouble getting around that red hazard. And those hazards are very hazardous, especially at the flea weight scale here, because they're big, much bigger than the robots are. And look how fast this robot is. You barely watch him skid across the floor. But Brian's got quite a bit of practice driving this robot and is fairly well controlled at it. Poor Ethan's trying to get Beaky around that hazard. They're both trying to use it kind of defensively. It's like, yeah, sure, come at me. You can hit the hazard instead. Another thing they have to watch for is that the way that red hazard spins, if you hit it just right, it'll throw you clean out the side. Oh, is he still in? It's good to pause the match here. Our ref is trying to decide. Okay, he's decided that he is also out, so Brian is hanging over the edge. He cannot move, therefore this is a double knockout, so we'll put them both back in, and we'll continue the fight from where it's at. So we'll get them back in their respective corners. It looks like they are ready. We'll continue it in 3, 2, 1, fight some more. So the important thing here is that in this pushing match, which is a very fast pushing match, Beaky now ending up on its back, it's important that you push your opponent out, but you don't go out yourself. And sometimes you can just end up missing entirely and driving out. That happens a lot. Brian doing a great job here at Derpy Dozer, pinning Beaky up against the wall as Ethan trying to use the little beak underneath as much as he can. Uh-oh. But Derpy Dozer has been bumped into that blue hazard, ripping one wheel off. He still has 3, but it looks like it's not driving very well without the 4th wheel on there, as that wedge is kind of dragging on the ground, not properly supported by the wheels anymore. That is going to make this pushing match much harder for Brian. Ethan trying to get around and use that lifting beak against him, but every time he gets near, Brian just guns it, and it's very difficult for him to get underneath. There we go, Brian's Derpy Dozer getting underneath of Beaky and then ramping back over top. Beaky now upside down. He doesn't actually have a good way to right himself other than by ramming into his opponent, as you can see right about here. Derpy Dozer trying to take advantage of it. He gets very close to the red push-out, but not quite able to do it. Both of these robots very nimble, and both drivers quite capable. So now Brian trying to line up a run at him. Again, going to be kind of hard to go straight. It definitely wants to veer one way or another. He's got him over to the side, and that is a clean push-out for Brian with Derpy Dozer. Congratulations. That was a hard one to fight back from there. I'm sure a disappointing one to not get that original push-out, but manages to line up another good attack. In the red corner, we have Brian setting up Derpy Dozer, a very fast robot that in the previous round definitely lost a wheel. Came apart pretty hard. And now going up against David in the blue corner with his scoop. This one has a big lifter on the front as well as a secondary wedge underneath it. Even though they're small, they are still very fast and powerful robots. And especially with these two formations, we'll definitely be looking at driving skill as the major factor in this fight.
All judges ready?
Everybody's in and ready, so we will begin in 3, 2, 1, fight. And you can see Derpy Dozer snaking his way across here. A very fast little robot getting underneath of Scoop and tossing him into the blue side there. This thing is ridiculously fast as he pins him up against the wall. Nearly manages to hold him there, but David uses that Scoop to push himself away from the wall, getting out of Derpy Dozer's little pusher there. And Derpy, not nearly as derpy as it sounds, very fast, very nimble. He can absolutely turn on a dime, and backing into Scoop, trying to push him into the red hazard. Unfortunately, that ends up flipping Derpy upside down. Derpy using the hazard to flip himself right side up, which is actually very important for him because he's got a gigantic magnet under there, but it's only on one side, and that magnet is very helpful for having more pushing power. Both of them vying for position here. You can see Derpy getting underneath the Scoop and ramming him up against the wall, causing him to flip over. Scoop now with his Scoop halfway open. I'm not sure if he can use it to right himself necessarily, but no, David's shaking his head going, nah, that's not going to work. In the meantime, Derpy taking advantage of the situation, getting underneath of the extended wedge of Scoop, who is trying to flip himself over, but it will not work, so he's going to have to go in upside down. He's trying to get to the side of, oh geez, where is he backwards? Everything's upside down. Controls get a little bit confusing when you're upside down. Left is right, right is left, but forward and backward is still the same, which, I mean, how weird is that? As Derpy gets behind and underneath Scoop and pushing him clear across the arena. He still wants to get a good push towards the, oh geez, hard off of the red hazard. Scoop nearly finding himself outside of the arena. Derpy now trying to get around the blue hazard as David's Scoop is just really having trouble figuring out where to go at all. This is a confusing situation for him. He's trying his best to position himself, but really wishes he could get right side up. It would be a heck of a lot more effective now into a pushing match between Derpy Dozer and Scoop. And surprisingly, despite being upside down, Scoop is holding on in this absolute stalemate of a pushing match. 1 minute to go. Once again, both of these guys hoping to be able to get a good quick push out the red side there. Unfortunately for Scoop, upside down is going to be very difficult for him. Again, face to face, going absolutely nowhere. Completely equal in pushing power, although for a moment there, it looked like Brian might have been trying to lure him in a little bit as he gets a good grab on him, pushes him fast into the blue hazard, sending him across the arena towards the blue side pushout. And now Scoop underneath of Dozer just for a moment, does manage to lift him up with that scoop. He's now right-sided after that big hard hit off the hazard. And so now he's using the scoop as an arm or something. I feel like he's a matador at this point, both between holding his scoop up in the air as well as his controller position here, holding it above his head off to the side. He is very serious about this fight, and with 10 seconds left to go, he's going to have to be. Each one wants to get a very decisive win here before it goes to a judge's decision, but it's coming in 3, 2, 1, and time is up. That's the end of the fight. Good driving to both drivers, David and Brian.
Sticks himself to the side.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that is a very difficult one. This is going to go to a judge's decision. We have 3 judges who judge based on damage, aggression, and control shown through the fight. Damage, I don't think is going to be much of an issue, but aggression and control, both key. In our case, we consider aggression to be always going after your opponent, not running away, but trying to actively engage them. Whereas control is all about pushing your opponent around, being the one to land the hits, and directing the flow of the fight. And the judges have decided the win will go to Brian with Derpy Dozer. Congratulations, Brian. Now getting into the Fairyweight finals here. In the red corner, Paul is loading up Pissed Off Unicorn, which has an overhead spinning bar with 3 tines coming off of it, completely covering the body of the robot, making it difficult to get in and hit it from any direction without taking a few hits. And over in the blue corner there, I do believe we will see Derpy Dozer coming in, driven by Brian. Again, both of these competitors joining us from afar, Brian from Calgary and Paul all the way from Florida. So thank you very much for coming this far to join us for our Canadian National Championships.
Paul going to get a second championship?
Paul hoping to win his 2nd championship.
What was the last one he had?
Same
robot? Was it the same robot?
Same robot.
Now this same robot on our trophy from last year might be able to win 2 in a row.
He said he did absolutely nothing.
Apparently he says he's done absolutely nothing to this robot, which is probably just as well because it worked well enough last time. Why mess with it?
Stress is now up. 2-time championship.
No pressure, nothing on the line. Brian just trying to get some more of the crud out of the corners. Neither robot wants to have anything getting jammed underneath them, especially these 150-gram Fairyweights. Tiny little robots. Even a screw off of a 3-pounder could be the difference between driving and not. So Pissed Off Unicorn is coming from the A side, only needs 1 fight to win. Derpy Dozer coming up from the B side will need 2. Paul hoping he only needs the 1.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Give them a moment to get everything set up here. Well, they are. Just again, another quick shout out to our sponsors. Thank you very much to Big Blue Saw, Robot Marketplace, Polulu Robotics and Electronics, Actobotics, FingerTech Robotics, WD Plastics, Equal Zero Designs, Saskatoon TechWorks, and certainly last but not least, Prairieland Park and Sask Entertainment Expo for having us here today. Without their help and generous sponsorship, we would not be able to provide you with this wonderful entertainment. Pissed Off Unicorn setting up his controller, trying to get it to drive straight, close enough. And the weapon does work. The drivers are ready. The judges are ready. 3, 2, 1, fight. Derpy Dozer coming fast out of the corner there. Wing a little off to the side. I can see he's nicking on some of the furs that have been collecting on these floors. Upside down, a wheel has come off. Oh geez, Derpy Dozer taking some hard hits already off Pissed Off Unicorn. A magnet completely gone. 1 wheel gone. The wedge taking some serious damage. Even though that thing is very hard, so is that spinning bar on Pissed Off Unicorn. And believe me, it is pissed. That is spinning at quite a rate. Derpy Dozer upside down, having a lot of trouble controlling the drive with only 3 wheels, and his control is kind of messed up. And no magnets to help him with his traction either. This is a precarious position for him, running into his own magnet, momentarily getting stuck. Oh, jeez. Pissed Off Unicorn accidentally bumping into that blue hazard. Now up against the wall, Derpy Dozer wants to take advantage of this before he gets a chance to spin up. Speaking of spinning up, there it goes. It was stalled for a moment, but it does manage. And Derpy trying to get control again, but definitely not driving straight. And I think he wants to try and have his magnet back, perhaps. He's banging into on the floor again, into the arm on top of Unicorn. Lots of sparks, putting slight dents into the wedge. It is what he needs to do. He wants to be able to hit him hard enough that he ends up flying around just like that, but unfortunately he goes flying back, and Unicorn gets spun back up again. With enough hits, that weapon might start to come loose, but it's going to take a few, and in the meantime, Derpy Dozer having some trouble navigating. A minute 35 still on the clock. Neither one out yet. Oh, a hard bounce off of the red hazard there for Derpy Dozer, very unfortunate. And nicking on the blue hazard as he's trying to make his way around. He's still able to control it somewhat, but boy, this is extremely difficult, believe me. The fact that he's even getting this far says something for his driving as he puts the wedge clean into the weapon on Pissed Off Unicorn. If he can hit it for the right angle, he might end up throwing him out of the arena, or at least breaking it, because all that energy goes right back into Unicorn as well. But man, this robot really able to take a lot of hits on the weapon. Not that common for spinners. Another hard hit there as he goes into him, gets stuck on the floor for just a moment, but there he goes again, making his way around. 50 seconds still to go, puts the weapon into him again. Pissed Off Unicorn just keeps going. The Energizer Bunny over here, everything keeps spinning up, but never stops as Derpy Dozer tries again and again to put that wedge into him and break him. Paul's saying, wait a minute, don't jinx me here. Ooh, geez. Derpy Dozer almost goes out the blue side there as he goes flying across the arena. Thankfully manages to bounce off the side of the push-out. 22 seconds, backing into the weapon. Amazingly, that plastic body on Derpy Dozer actually holding up reasonably well against the weapon on Pissed Off Unicorn. Hard one into the blue hazards as Paul is trying to make his way around them, but it's kind of difficult to drive this thing. I can see it spinning somewhat out of control. It likes to spin one way and not the other. 5 seconds left. 3, 2, 1. Time is up. That's the end of the fight. Another long-fought battle here between Paul with Pissed Off Unicorn and Brian with Derpy Dozer. This will go to a judge's decision, and once again, damage, aggression, and control are the important things that win matches here. I suspect this will be a challenging one as well, but Unicorn did very well in that, and yet Brian never gave up running in there with this robot as best as he could, considering the shape that he was in. But it's unanimous. The win will go to Pissed Off Unicorn, winner of our A Finals, 2-time champion in the Fairyweights. Congratulations, Paul, joining us all the way from Florida. Now we're going to go back into the Antweight 1-pound class, but this time with rookies. So these are first-time builders, first-time drivers. And the first one's up, we're going to have Vicky with Dizzy Demise in the red corner. And that will be going up against Anya with Rainbow Barf in the blue corner. So if you're wondering about getting into robotics, and combat robotics in particular, here's a great example of where you can get started. Age is no question. We have had people from 9 to, well, maybe not quite 90, but 79 joining us here. And it's never too early or too late to get started. We have 4 drivers here, I think, under the age of 10. And it's still a very capable thing for them to do. Need a little bit of help building the robots, perhaps, but certainly not beyond them to be driving a car around the arena, that's for sure. So Anya is just going to get set up over in the blue corner here with Rainbow Barf. This one here is based on the FingerTech Robotics Viper kit, customized with some beautiful artwork by Anya herself. So you can see this here has the the black steel frame with a Lexan polycarbonate top, and then that titanium wedge on the front. A very good basis to start from. You can always add a weapon onto that later once you get up into the higher classes. And that's going to be going up against Vicky's Dizzy Demise over in the red corner here. This one is actually similar to some robots you may have seen on BattleBots. For example, if you have seen Tombstone, it is very much a similar thing, except this is round instead of a box, and it's got the big horizontal spinning bar on the front. Despite its small size, that thing can definitely take some chunks out of even steel or titanium, so going to be a very dangerous robot all the same. That is why there's that big vice grip clamp holding the weapon in place, just in case it spins up, because believe me, that is basically a lawnmower on wheels. So what she's probably going to be going for, Dizzy Demise, is try and take out the wheels. They are exposed on the Viper kit, so it is possible you might be able to chop them up and get them stuck so they can't drive around. That's also the reason why Dizzy, which is using very similar style of wheels, has them actually encased inside of its body, so much harder to reach those wheels and damage them. Once you're ready, you can hit your green button.
Oh, yeah.
All right, the drivers are ready, so we will start this in 3, 2, 1, fight! All right, Dizzy getting its weapon spun up there. Looks like it's a little bit glitchy at the start, but there we go. Now it's up to speed. And, uh-oh, getting a little bit hooked on the ground there. Having a little bit of trouble driving once it's spun up. There it goes. Must have a lot of magnets holding that one to the ground there as Rainbow Barf gets underneath of Dizzy Demise and pins it up against the wall. There we go. Now Dizzy Demise getting back out there. Weapon spun up to about half speed. Trying to get around the side of Rainbow Barf. Oh yeah, as soon as that spins up, she starts having trouble controlling it. So it's going to be a little bit difficult here. Again, it is the first time with this robot, and it looks like it's got a bit of a trade-off between drivability and that weapon speed, but you know what? Probably not going to need 100% throttle on that weapon today. Instead, just being a question of trying to direct it appropriately as she gets just in front of Rainbow Barf here, into the back side, taking a nick out of the paint job and bouncing off the titanium wedge on the front of Rainbow Barf. This really is the hardest part of robot combat. When you see the drivers in the veteran classes are just whipping around with these robots, and then you see the rookies, the big hard part for the rookies is just being able to drive these things. These are not your average remote control car from Toys R Us or something like that. These do not drive well. We built them, which means they probably suck. And getting them to drive is really difficult, especially when you start getting the floor nicked up and full of crud and everything else. Driving is, I think, over half of the challenge with combat robots. I mean, building an effective robot is tricky in itself, but driving it is a whole nother challenge that really just comes with experience. All right. Oh, I see what's going on here. So the other thing to watch out for with these robots, especially the ones that are invertible, is that when they get flipped upside down, the controls are all reversed, which makes them very difficult to drive, as if they weren't difficult enough to drive. So Vicky here trying to figure out how to drive this robot. And in the meantime, Anya trying to find her way around the hazards here. Again, very difficult to drive these things. If you push forward on the stick, it probably turns left or right because things are not completely balanced, they're not equal. And so getting them to drive at all can be a challenge. There we go, Anya taking advantage of the situation, pinning Dizzy's Demise over into the corner there as Vicky makes her way out. Anya chasing her down again, but Dizzy is, I think, the faster of the two robots, and surprisingly gets underneath Rainbow Barf, pinning in the blue corner there. 35 seconds still on the clock. Now making her way out. She's got 10 seconds to hold her if we do get into some kind of a pushing, grabbing match here. So got to give your opponent another chance at it. Anya having a little bit of trouble directing it around as Vicky is running Dizzy around here. Unfortunately, doesn't seem to be able to use the weapon or just isn't able to use it effectively at the moment, but definitely quite drivable once the weapon's spun down. And seems to be doing all right with the pushing match afterwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that's the end of the match. Thank you very much to Vicky and to Anya. As I say, it is very difficult to drive these things.
Does that weapon work? The screw at the bottom.
Yeah.
Is it down? No. I mean, you can try spinning it up again. Okay.
Judge is just checking to see if there's some damage going on here. Unfortunately for Dizzy, if the weapon does get damaged in the process of the combat, even if it was herself, it's still damage. And yeah, it looks like that weapon is not working anymore. At least not entirely. So once again, the judges, we've got 3 of them here, and they're having to decide on damage, aggression, and control as to who the winner of this match will be. Give them a moment to confer. This is actually really the hardest part of the entire combat. Whether you're a driver or the judge, you never want it to go to a judge's decision because you never know what's going to happen. It's really hard to say, you know, at the end of a fight like that, who was the winner. And it is decided, the judges have decided that Dizzy is the winner. Congratulations, Vicky. Well deserved, even without that weapon working. I think was able to get more control when it came to driving. And that is a big element of what is left. But this is definitely not the end. We've got several more to go here. The next one up here, another Antweight rookie fight, is going to be Matthew with Treadnought up against Nadia with Cupcake. Treadnought will be in the red corner here and Cupcake over in the blue. And Treadnought is a very interesting entry. So it's got treads, hence the name, big plastic tank treads. Normally I would not recommend that, except for it does have a big steel body or something. Steel? Painted?
Yeah, sure. Call it steel.
Yeah, call it steel. It'll sound scarier. Yeah, steel. A nicely painted body to try and cover up those fragile treads. And instead, there's a big spinning motor in the middle there with a flail on top. Now, a flail is not normally something that you see used in combat. I don't know how it's going to work, but I can't wait to find out. I always enjoy seeing interesting combat. Oh. I have seen one other person try the flail. There was Mark, who works at Arby's. Great Scott. Oh, sorry, I got him backwards. Great Scott, yes. And that was an interesting one because instead of using treads, it had like a shuffling sort of mechanism, which actually gives it a weight bonus that allowed it to have an even heavier flail. Yeah? It was technically a walker, okay. There's a difference between a walker and a shuffler. It's all very technical.
Yeah, you have to do a sync promotion just on the stick.
It was a rather ridiculous robot to drive because in order to make it walk, he basically had to circle the joystick around in like whichever direction made sense. I don't know how he actually got it to go anywhere, but it did. It was amazing. It was definitely the dancing bear of robots. It's not that it walked well, it was that it walked at all. It was amazing. So Treadnought here getting spun up, or getting set up, I should say. Hopefully not spun up, not with his hand in the middle of the weapon. That's probably not a good idea. And Nadia's Cupcake over there. Again, this is a FingerTech Viper kit with a nice hard titanium wedge on the front. Nadia's decided she's going to leave the push out open on her side. Good idea, because that's probably how she's going to win this match, is by pushing him out.
I wouldn't be surprised.
At least if it doesn't, disintegrate on its own. Hoping that doesn't happen. Not saying that's going to happen. Nothing about maybe exploding instantaneously on impact. All right. Both drivers are in and ready. Judges, are we ready? All right. 3, 2, 1, fight! Okay, Treadnought. Oh, goodness, it works. That thing is scary. I can't believe that works. Oh, it worked for a second. There it goes. He's ramping it up. Looks like he doesn't want to keep it at full speed all the time. Coming over towards Cupcake. Oh, no, it's wrapping around itself. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't like walls. There we go. Okay, well, this is turning out about as well as I thought it might. This is hilarious. Okay. So the armor is coming off the wheels. The thing is spun up on itself. Hey, it's got a wedge on the front. That's what matters, right? And so now Cupcake getting underneath the wedge on the front of Treadnought. And trying to push. Nadia a little tangled up. Uh-oh. There is wires hanging out. I think... Oh, no. I think one of the wires inside Cupcake has come out and got entangled on the right side wheel. That's going to make it very difficult to drive. I'm actually amazed it's even working right now. Probably not for long if that wire keeps sticking out there. Thankfully, Treadnought probably not going to destroy it. Unfortunately, Cupcake not able to move. Okay, so the judges were starting to count it down for not being able to move, but it was for a moment there. Treadnought trying to get a push on it. Unfortunately, really hard to push with those plastic tank treads. Although they sound like a great idea on paper. It's tank tread, right? It's meant for pushing in mud, and normally it's got actual gearing that hooks it in there. In this case, I think the plastic wheels and the rubber treads are just kind of skipping around. But it looks cool. Minute 30 still to go. Both of them trying to push. Sometimes this happens in these matches here. Cupcake very much stuck, but as long as Matthew keeps tapping into her, we reset the clock, so if she can make her way around. Oh yeah, it is like, now you tell me. Now they're counting it down, okay? Cupcake got to try and move, but I don't think she can do much. It's really tangled up in there. Unfortunately, got to get some lateral movement. And that is a count out. All right, so unfortunately, Cupcake got wired up on her own wires there, could not move, so the win will go to Matthew with Treadnought. Sonia is going to be driving Cookie, and we need somebody to drive Chop.
Are we looking for an audience?
Okay, we're going to try and find somebody from the audience to drive a robot for us. We need somebody for Chop. So if you're interested, he's interested too. Grab someone. Well, you know what? I got somebody right here. You want to drive?
Yes, he does.
Why wouldn't you? Come on over, bud.
What's your name?
Miles?
Miles. All right, Miles is going to drive this. We're going to show him how it works. We're going to put you on the blue side. So actually, if you want to come around the back side here.
Sonia, you're on this
Sonia. Yeah, over here, dear. Oh.
I'll grab a chair for her.
Yeah, I'm not sure there. Oh, chair will do. Just spot her and she doesn't fall over. Yeah.
All right, so Sonia's got Cookie over in the red corner here. I think she might be one of our youngest drivers, maybe second youngest out of this bunch. This is a FingerTech Robotics Viper kit. So if you're wondering what you can use to start off with, this is a very popular one with our rookies. And it's going to be going up against Miles over in the blue corner here. This is definitely his first time driving. And he's going to be driving Chop. Now this one here is also the FingerTech kit, except for this has been modified to have a vertical spinning blade on it, which can be quite effective as long as it can get into and over its opponent. You'll notice it's also got like a plastic finger sticking out the front there. That's to try and make sure that when you drive into your opponent rides up into the weapon and gives you the advantage too of having the weapon hit them from underneath where they're probably not as well armored. So I'll show Miles how to drive this thing. These really are basically remote control cars at the end of the day. We've taken a remote control car that we've made ourselves, we've strapped a weapon to it, we've put it inside of here, and somehow we think that's safe and okay to do. But it's a lot of fun to watch, and as a result, it's actually fairly easy to make one yourself and to learn how to drive one. The tricky thing is just that because they're not store-bought, they're usually not the best made, and things never work quite the way you want them to. So if he pushes up on the stick, it's probably not going to drive straight ahead. I won't be surprised if it just veers to the right or something like that. But with enough practice and enough experience with the same robot, you can get good at driving that particular one and learn how to deal with it. All right, Sonia's ready, Miles is ready. We will start it off in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right, so they got 3 minutes to either push each other out of the side or destroy each other. Oh, geez. Chop is upside down, riding on that weapon. Oh no! And unfortunately, when it's upside down, the controls are backwards, so Miles is driven out of the arena, which means Sonia with Cookie is the winner. That is often the way it goes with these fights. All right, the next rookie one we're going to have is Spin versus Matthew driving Gold Rush. Matthew's an experienced driver, but this is the first time using this robot. It's a very experimental design, and we'll see if it hangs together long enough to make it through a fight. And it's going to be going up against Spin, which is also a modified FingerTech Robotics Viper kit, but it has a horizontal spinning bar as opposed to the vertical spinning disc.
Do we need a volunteer for that one too?
Yes. Okay. And we're also going to need a volunteer for what was it, Spin. And I did see somebody else last time who was interested, so Goku, if you want to come join me. He put his hand up last time. I want to give both of them a chance. Oh. All right, buddy, so yeah, you're on this side. We'll show you how to use it in just a second.
Hello. What's your name?
Should be obvious.
So Ty is going to be our driver here. Once again, never driven a robot like this one before. This should be interesting because both of these, despite being rookie class opponents, both of them have very heavy weapons. This is actually one of the larger spinners that I've seen in the rookie class. And I'm pretty sure Matthew's vertical spinner there is going to be quite dangerous if it functions at all. His is also, yeah, he's not sure. Not 100% sure on this one, but if it does, it should be great. One thing interesting about Gold Rush here is that you can see it's completely symmetric. So even if it's flipped upside down, it's got wedges on both sides. It's got the same kind of profile for it. So it should be able to work almost equally well in both cases. The only difference, I think, will be that instead of spinning up, which is normally the way you'd want your weapon to go, normally we design our weapons to do like an uppercut and like push your opponent up because you put your foot into the floor and you hit him. Unfortunately, if he flips over, his weapon will be instead facing down into the ground, and he'll just kind of like nibble away on them as he gets pushed up by his own weapon. So hopefully he'll be able to keep it right-sided or have some way of getting himself on the right side. Figure Tech using the veteran's trick, just bend it really hard until it works.
The other way.
This is what I was saying about them not liking to drive straight. Parts will drag on the ground. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. Something has to be on the ground, and if you only have 2 wheels, the third part is some low part of the robot. In this case, I can see even from here, it's bowed slightly, so either the left corner or the right corner of that wedge is going to be dragging on the ground, and depending on which one you're dragging on, you're going to pivot around that corner. So if he can bend it well enough, he might be able to get it low in the center instead of on the edges, and then it'll kind of drive straight-ish. But honestly, this is just the way these robots are. You learn how your robot drives, how it responds, and you just counter steer to make up for it. It's like that old car you had when you turned 16 and finally got to drive, and you had to hold the wheel on the left side and bang the door really hard to get it to open, that kind of stuff.
Taking the gas at the stoplight.
All right, drivers are ready in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right, spin is spun up, and Gold Rush is too. Sounds nice and quiet. Oh, right into the front of it. That green thing was a little bit of tape that was on Gold Rush. I'm not sure what the purpose of that was, but it's gone now. And that vertical spinning weapon doing a good job against spin there. The spinning weapon on spin has a little bit of trouble getting started. There's a couple different kinds of motors that we tend to use. There's brushed and brushless. Brushless ones tend to be more powerful for their weight, but they also have trouble spinning up from a dead stop sometimes. So sometimes you just got to wiggle it around or hit it into a weapon or something like that. But once it gets going, they're very effective. Speaking of effective, that weapon on Gold Rush is working really well. And looks like the weapon on spin has come loose. It is no longer functioning properly, but it is still a very capable wedge bot. And there is an open side over by the blue there, so it is possible that Ty might be able to push Matthew's Gold Rush out the side. But it's going to take a little bit of skill driving, and we are first-timers, so that's going to be a bit of a challenge. In the meantime, Gold Rush trying to decide if he wants to be a wedge or a spinning bot, not sure which. He does have a good little spinner there, actually. It's grabbing the wheels nicely. When it can hit from behind, it does toss the opponent. So far, it's already managed to break the weapon on spin and put a few chunks in the tires. And he narrowly pushed him into the blue side. So the winner is Matthew with Gold Rush. Good job. So that there is an example of what happens with experience at driving, because he did something really key there that may not have been obvious to first-timers. Even though he wasn't pushing him necessarily or hitting him hard, he was closing off the places where Ty was able to drive. He was slowly but surely narrowing him down to having to go out to the blue side there. So just by being in the way, nudging at him a little bit, kind of forcing his hand, he was eventually put into a position that he was unable to get away from that side. All right, so in the red corner here, Isaiah is going to be driving Chop. This has a vertical spinning weapon on it, quite a powerful one. And otherwise, it's based on the Fingertech Robotics Viper kit. And in the blue corner, Nadia over there is going to be driving Cupcake. Oh, sorry, Rainbow Barf, my mistake. Still her favorite name of any robot. Ethan, do you want to close the door? They're loading up the other robot. You're welcome. Let me put the least dangerous one in first, just in case. So Rainbow Barf, this is a fairly standard Fingertech Robotics Viper kit. It's got a titanium wedge on the front and a good handful of magnets in the bottom to give it some better control. Other than that, this is the kind of kit that you can buy and build yourself quite readily. It's a good way to get started. And this rookie class is intentionally made for those kind of people who've never driven before, never built a robot before, and want an easy start, basically. Don't want to go up against the really hard-hitting, really experienced drivers. You need a chance to go up against people of your own similar skill level.
Okay, I'm going to go get started on this.
Judges are ready? Need a moment on that? All right, both drivers are in. We're ready to go. We will start in 3, 2, 1, fight! All right, Isaiah's got Chop's weapon all spun up there. Coming in to try and line up one on Nadia, giving her a chance to get control of the robot here. These things are difficult to drive. They don't like to drive straight, that's for sure. So for a new driver, it can be very daunting to try and get these things working. But that's why we've got this rookie class, giving them a chance to get the experience, get used to driving these things around, especially in this kind of an environment. Now going toe-to-toe there, you can see that little wedge piece sticking out of the front of Chop. That thing's used to get up under your opponent and put them into the weapon, just like that. Exactly what that thing is designed to do. So now Rainbow Bark is upside down. Can still be driven that way, but the turning controls are all reversed. It's very confusing. As if it wasn't already confusing enough to drive these robots. Oh, there we go. And Isaiah comes in with a good hard hit there with Chop. That little spinning weapon's doing great work. Seems simple, but that's a really big motor. My goodness. This is like the same size as the blade itself. 2 minutes left in the fight. Both in a bit of a pushing match, similar amounts of drive power and whatnot, so really just going toe-to-toe, but possibly with one quick maneuver, one of them might go out the side or might suddenly turn off, veer off. And Rainbow Bark doing a good job of pinning Chop up against the side there. Isaiah trying to get behind Rainbow Bark and take full advantage, use that weapon to get getting underneath and using the weapon. You can see that nice big titanium wedge actually has the advantage against that plastic finger. So the titanium one's able to win in a direct pushing match. But if they can get hit from the side, then Chop can use that to get underneath the opponent, lift them up, and put them into the weapon. Minute 15 left in the fight. Chop takes a hard hit off that red cabbage there. Now running upside down, making all kinds of miracles. That weapon is just so odd. So much for that beautiful new paint job that we just put on there. See, that does happen with those weapons. So now trying to right himself, and about the best way that he can right himself is to run into a wall or something, using that weapon. Unfortunately, it can be very difficult to do, especially since, again, upside down, the controls are all reversed. Next time. There it goes. All right. Excellent job, Isaiah. Now back on his wheels. Still got that weapon spinning. 30 seconds left in the fight. Let's see if he can go get a good hit. There you go. Once again, that little wedge finger pushing the robot up and into the weapon. And lets it get a really good hard bite from the underside. Oh, geez. Hard hit from the red hazard. Managed to stay in the arena, but upside down again. As Chop's making all kinds of noise. Perfect. He self-rights himself. He's getting the hang of this now. 10 seconds left. Big pushing match between the two of them. Brother and sister here, duking it out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time is up. All right, guys, back off. Thank you very much, both Isaiah and Nadia over there with Chop and Rainbow Bark. This is going to go to a judge's decision. Damage, aggression, and control are the 3 categories that we judge on. All right, the decision is unanimous. Chop wins. Congratulations, Isaiah. All right, so Cupcake over here in the red corner, being driven by Nadia. This one here is a FingerTech Robotics Viper kit as well, similarly kitted out to the previous one. And it is going up against Spin. This is one that we have as kind of an audience participation sort of bot. This has a big horizontal spinning bar on top, and it looks like has recently removed the armor piece that was on the front. I'm not sure why that is, but I bet it was important.
It didn't drive well.
Didn't drive well with it on there. Well, that's a good reason to take the armor off, for sure. Both drivers are ready. We will start it in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right, and now Spin is spun, and it's coming for Cupcake. but the bar is just a little bit above, and Nadia doing a great job there driving Cupcake and getting underneath the spin. Helps that it's got that low wedge there. Oh, look at that spin and taking all the beautiful decaling off the top of Cupcake. And there's tape and pictures flying everywhere. Oh, good job there. Cupcake taking just the right moment to hit spin while it's turning around and getting underneath and lifting it. Ooh, geez, that's a wire. That's a wire. All right, so a wire has come out of Cupcake. I'm going to say that was connected to something important because the robot stopped working. And she will be counted out because it is disabled, so the win goes to spin. Congratulations, Vicky. We might have taken another hit, but that was battery wire, so probably don't want to play too much with that. We haven't had any fires yet, and we're hoping not to yet. So in the red corner, Sonia has Cookie. In the blue corner, Vicky has Dizzy Demise. Both drivers are ready. 3, 2, 1, fight. Who are we missing? Yeah, keep going. All right, Dizzy Demise spun up there. Was having trouble driving earlier, found that it did not want to activate correctly when the weapon was at full speed. Cookie now putting it, that big hard wedge into the weapon of Dizzy, which is actually proving quite effective. Flipped her upside down. When these robots are upside down, they're much harder to control because all the controls are backwards. But you can see that that spinner on the front of Dizzy is doing an effective job of scratching up the titanium armor on the front of Cookie. If it's able to make contact with the sides or the wheels, it can do quite a lot of damage. Looks like, unfortunately, the weapon's having a little bit of trouble spinning up. That one there is using a brushless motor, which can have a bit of trouble getting started, but once it does get started, it tends to be more powerful for its size, and especially important in these smaller weight classes. It's now using the back end as a battering ram, which actually proved pretty useful in the previous fight as well. Even though it's round, it's still got quite a bit of pushing power. And hoping to be able to use her driving skill against Cookie here in order to push her out the red push out on the side there. Oh, Sonia trying to get a quick push in there. So it's surprisingly difficult to drive these robots, even when they are right side up. And you'll see that especially in the rookie classes, because these things are, you know, cars that we made, usually trying to make sure that they're going to be hardy against hits, not necessarily the smoothest driving. So for example, that big wedge in the front of Cookie there, it's only got 2 wheels. There's got to be some third point somewhere that's on the ground, and it is part of the wedge. What part of the wedge? Who knows? If it's the left corner, you'll turn to the left. If it's the right corner, you'll turn to the right. That can change as the fight goes on. So it can be very difficult to get these things to even just drive straight. And so when you see the amazing driving that happens with the veteran drivers, believe me, they've earned that because they can't just do that. The robots themselves are very difficult to drive. And Dizzy's Demise here. Weapon is kind of working, having a bit of trouble getting it spun up. Oh, there we go. Sonia getting a good push. Pinning, using Cupcake to pin Dizzy up against the side wall there. 45 seconds still in the fight. Weapon on Dizzy just not working very well, unfortunately, as Vicky is doing her best to try and get it spun up. Sonia pinning her in the corner there, taking advantage of it while she can. There's 10 seconds to hold her there before she has to give her a chance to get out again. And between the drive and the weapon, I think things are just not working out very well for Vicky. Trying to do the best of it that she can. But unfortunately, I think she's at the winds of her robot at this point. Sonia now using the backside to try and pin her up against the corner again. Can hold her for another 10 seconds. Backing out, there's 8 seconds still to fight. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time is up. All right, good job to both of our drivers here, Vicky and Sonia. Let's hear it for them. And this will go to a judge's decision. They'll have to decide the winner based on damage, control, and aggression shown throughout the fight. Once they've made their decision and we announce the winner, we'll start the 3-pound beetle weight class. These are the big ones, the ones that make a lot of noise, throw a lot of parts everywhere. These are the ones you're going to want to see. And it definitely does seem like Dizzy's having some issues there. The thing just won't stop spinning. So something must have gotten jammed. Another moment here while the judges make the decision. It can be very difficult to do, especially in cases where there isn't a lot of damage, because it comes down to aggression and control. And those categories are very hard to judge, honestly. All right, it's unanimous. The win will go to Cookie. Congratulations, Sonia. So this is our rookie class. This is what we do for first-time drivers and builders. We make sure that anybody who wants to try this out and get interested in this sport has an opportunity to go up against others who are of a similar skill level to them and aren't thrown in amongst the wolves right off the bat. So we're going to have Chop, which is a modified Viper kit. It's got a vertical spinning disc bar thing. Be driven by one of our younger competitors here today. And it's going to be going up against Treadnought, which is an experimental robot from one of our more veteran drivers. It has tank treads and some kind of armor to cover them because they're made of plastic and rubber, and then a very big flail on top. And we'll see what it can do. So far, he did get it spun up. It actually did work. Unfortunately, it kind of got tangled up halfway through, so I think he's hoping to get one really good hit in on the spinning weapon of Chop here. I imagine there must be a fair bit of weight in there, especially when it's spinning. But so far, just having some fun with this robot, trying out a new design, seeing what he can do with it. Half the fun, honestly, with some of these, especially in the rookie class, is trying to do something that others wouldn't normally do. I mean, you'll see a lot of wedges and lifters and definitely a lot of horizontal and vertical spinners, but things like flails, not so common, hammers, not so common. And so rookie class, a good opportunity to try out some of those new ideas. So Nadia is going to be driving Chop over here in the red corner. Matthew's got Treadnought over in the blue corner. That crazy flail on top. All right, the drivers are ready. We'll just need to get our last judges together. You ready? He's going to judge from the table. Okay. We will start it off in 3, 2, 1, fight. Oh my goodness. So Treadnought getting up to speed there, as is Chop. Chop a much quieter little spinner on the front there, but very capable if it can just get a good hit in there. Treadnought spinning up that flail. That thing is ridiculous. I mean, it is a flail. It is working. It's a little bit too high, though. It's actually going over the top of Chop, although it is kind of like wobbling around. So at the right moment, it might fall in line. Now it is tangled up inside of the robot. That's going to make it a little bit difficult to do anything. So pause the match. Pause the match. We have decided that they are entangled with each other, so we will separate them. That is not the way you're allowed to win. Otherwise, you just like add a net on the front and call it a day. And who would ever think to do that? Especially at the professional level. Oh wow, that really wrapped around the weapon in there. Don trying to be very careful about this because these are still active robots. They could start up at any time. So try to make sure he doesn't have fingers in the way. But at the same time, I mean, that's really wrapped up in there. It's like that time you drove your remote control car over your sister's head and all her hair got tangled in it. We all had one of those days, right? Yeah, I don't know about you, my mom wasn't too impressed. All right, the drivers are back in. We'll count them back in. Oh, he already got it. Okay, we'll start it off again. In 3, 2, 1, fight some more! Treadnought's wire a little bent up after that one, but nothing you can't straighten out. Takes a little bit of centrifugal force and away it goes. That little tank actually quite good at spinning. Maybe not so good at driving straight, but it can rotate very quickly. Although that might be just going with the motor. Because that big weapon on top is going to have quite a bit of momentum in it. Just under 2 minutes to go. Nadia got that good fast spinning weapon on Chop there, trying to get underneath Treadnought, but having a little bit of trouble using the wedge to get underneath it. It is a difficult thing to do. Treadnought looks like it has gotten its own weapon wrapped around itself. That is what happened in the previous fight as well. So unfortunately for him, it's not going to be doing much. In the meantime, Nadia getting a good push on Treadnought there, pushing him into the red hazard. Minute and a half remaining in the fight. Treadnought, I think, hoping to do a bit of a pushing match as well. Seems like he should be able to with the tank treads and that big wedge on the front, but having a little bit of trouble doing it as Nadia nearly ends up driving out the blue side. That is a hazard. Has to be watched out for in these pushing matches. If you slip off, you can suddenly find yourself being the one flying towards the push out on the side there. Ooh, hard bounce off of that red hazard there as Nadia gets kind of pinned a little bit between Treadnought and the hazard. Now getting a good push sideways on Treadnought, who despite those big tank treads, is still quite pushable. And looks like part of the armor is not staying on so well either, starting to expose those treads. But surprisingly, Nadia's wedge is not able to get underneath Treadnought. I'm actually really amazed by that because there's such an open gap on all sides of Treadnought. But oh, look at that! It came untangled. All right, Treadnought's back up and running for a moment. Got that big spinner on the top again. He's really hoping to be able to knock hard into the weapon on Chop, not get it tangled, but actually like bang on it hard. Oh, now it is completely ripped off and jammed inside the weapon of Nadia there. 10 seconds left as Nadia is trying to push Treadnought out the side. Oh, not quite able to. 5 seconds left, very close. 3, 2, 1, and time is up. All right, the match is over. Good job both to Nadia and to, pardon me, and to Matthew. Looks like Treadnought's flail, unfortunately not a very dangerous thing other than just getting jammed in various pieces, which is why we tend not to use them. But surprisingly, the wedge on the front of Chop here not really able to get underneath the Treadnought. So this will go to a judge's decision. Once again, damage, aggression, and control. Unfortunately for Treadnought, it definitely did suffer some damage there. All right, the decision is unanimous. The win goes to Chop. Congratulations, Nadia. Well driven. Now we'll do another Antweight Rookie. This one is Spin versus Dizzy Demise. Both of these have horizontal spinning weapons. Spin is also going to be driven by Nadia.
No, Annie.
Oh, Annie this time. Sorry, I just heard that it was Nadia. Annie's going to be driving this one. And this one also a FingerTech Viper kit, but it's got an overhead spinning bar, quite a heavy one, and has been slightly modified. It wasn't driving very straight because the wedge was kind of dragging on the ground, so the heck with it, we'll just take it right off. So now there is no armor on the front at all, and it's going up against Dizzy Demise, being driven by Vicky. This is a custom build, also a horizontal spinning bar on the front. This is probably not going to be a good situation for Spin, because that is the one part of Spin that is vulnerable, is that open front.
I thought it was a melty one. Oh. I was like, oh, I'm not worried.
So if Dizzy can get the weapon in the front there, might be able to hit something, although it looks like the only thing that's really exposed is a rather heavy mounting bracket for that overhead weapon. So probably not too big of an issue, but you know, that is the idea with these horizontal spinning bars. They can rip opponents apart, even in the 1 pound class here. So as you'll see as these fights go on here, that Viper kit is quite flexible. There's a lot of things you can do to customize it. We've already seen a vertical spinner. We have seen lifters in the past. This overhead spinning bar is actually quite hefty, even bigger, I think, than the one that was on Blue Steel. Looks like both drivers are ready. The judges are all ready. We will start in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right, both of them spinning up. Spin coming to life immediately. And Dizzy Demise also ready to go. Now both of them trying to drive their robots. Vicky has had trouble driving Dizzy Demise so far. It's been a little bit difficult. And now it sounds like the weapon might be, somebody's weapon's a little bit grindy. I'm not sure which one that was. But rattling a bit after that first hit as Dizzy going back end into Spin. Interesting. Has had fairly good luck so far using the back end as a bit of a ram. Maybe just to try and jam the opponent's weapon or something like that, but has been having a lot of trouble with the drive system so far. Unfortunately, unless she's able to show controlled movement, she will get counted out. And she's trying the best she can, but something's not working. And so she is counted out. That'll be the end of it. The win goes to Spin. Congratulations, Ani. That is unfortunate for Vicky, but yeah, she's been having trouble with that robot all day, and it looks like that is going to cost her. All right, now we're going to do an Antweight Rookie fight. So these are 1 pound robots again, but this is in the rookie weight class. the rookie class, I should say. These are people who are not normally drivers or builders, but are joining us all the same, and they're going to be driving chop versus spin. Looks like we have Leah driving chop. This is a vertical spinning bar, and she'll be in the red corner here. And over in the blue corner, Vicky is driving spin, which has an overhead horizontal spinning bar. So each of these have active weapons, both quite dangerous, set up in different configurations. They're both modified versions of the Fingertech Robotics Viper Kit. If you're interested in getting started in robotics, this is a really good way to do it. You can get all the parts you need to build a competition-worthy robot, and then you can customize it with any kind of weapons and adornments that you want. A lot of the robots, even in the veteran classes, start off with such a set of electronics and frame. All right, drivers are ready. We've got 3 minutes on the clock, starting in 3, 2, 1, fight. Both weapons spinning up. You can see Chop's small little blade coming up very quickly, while Spin's overhead spinning bar takes a little bit longer, but I think it's got a bit more power in it when it hits. And Chop getting underneath of Spin, taking off a big chunk of the front armor already. Excellent. That weapon doing exactly what it's designed to do. You can also see there's a little wedge-like finger on the front of Chop. That's to help direct the opponent up into the weapon blade, which has worked very effectively. Chop now bouncing a couple of times off that red hazard. Looks like might be having some right side drive. Oh my goodness! And unfortunately for Vicky, Spin's weapon hits the red hazard and throws her clear over the side. So the win will go to Leah with Chop. Congratulations. And for this one, we're going to have Sonia driving Cookie up against Matthew with Gold Rush. Now, Matthews is an interesting one. Matthews is actually quite a seasoned driver, but Gold Rush is a completely new bot for him, kind of an experimental design. No idea how well this thing's going to work. In the right side. Sonia, on the other hand, driving the tried, tested, and true Viper Kit with a nice hard titanium wedge on the front. So Gold Rush over in the blue corner there with Matthew. You can see that one has a vertical spinning disc bar thing with giant teeth on it. Whatever it is, it's going to hurt if you get hit by it. And it's in a frame that is kind of triangular, actually. It's a very interesting one. It's got wedges on both sides to try and direct the opponent up and into the weapon. But it's completely symmetric, so if it gets flipped over, it's still got a wedge, it's still got a weapon. The only difference there is the weapon's going kind of the wrong direction. You really want it to be spinning upwards for kind of like an uppercut punch. Whereas if it's spinning downwards and pushing your opponent into the ground, you're basically just kind of pushing yourself up in the air a little bit. So make some noise, make some sparks, but doesn't necessarily get the hit you want. Still better than nothing. Definitely don't want to be stranded on your back and have no weapon or no ability to drive. So should still be capable in both directions, but certainly works better if you can read the writing. All right, testing out that weapon. It does turn, that's important. Hate to go without it.
When you're ready, dear, you can just hit your button. Good.
All right, both drivers are ready, so we will begin in 3, 2, 1, fight. And Gold Rush moving in here. Doesn't have the weapon on just yet. There he goes, bringing it up. Cookie trying to decide what angle to take it at. Oh, almost managed to get away from that one, but gets bounced off the weapon there. Now getting hit from behind. It's upside down, which is going to be a lot harder to control in that configuration. The controls are kind of half reversed if you find yourself upside down, which can be really difficult. Cookie trying to get the control of this robot and direct it the right way, but it's very difficult, especially in the rookie class, to understand how to do that. As Gold Rush now hitting the wedge on the front, helpfully trying to tip Cookie back over and get her into the right position. Gold Rush coming in to try and hit. Cookie getting out of the way just at the right moment, avoiding that big weapon. Gold Rush definitely wants to go for those wheels and could easily take them off, but he's also trying to be a little bit sporting, trying to give her the opportunity to get right side up, but it's kind of hard. This robot seems to want to stay on its upside down. Hitting into the back of the frame again. Gold Rush's weapon able to bounce it around. Maybe not the most powerful spinner that we've seen here, but certainly capable. Minute 52 still on the clock, but something seems to be going a little bit loose. There we go. Now Gold Rush running again. Hitting from behind, and now Cookie is up on the wall and flat once again. You can see the back of that frame is taking a fair bit of a beating from that weapon. Gold Rush going in for a hit on the front wedge, but ramping over top. As Cookie tries to get her bearings and run in at Gold Rush. There we go, heading towards. But unfortunately gets past, and Gold Rush now against those soft foam wheels on the side, trying to get a good hit on it, but I think he's having a little bit of trouble steering the thing. It is a little wobbly, especially after a few hits. That is what tends to happen with these spinning robots. Things get a little bit out of sync and messed up. But as he ramps up the weapon speed, that helps to balance it a bit. 1 minute 15 still on the clock. Ticking again on the side of Cookie there, hitting that square side of the Fingertech Viper kit. And Gold Rush trying to get around behind, again, bouncing around quite a bit. In some ways, it's easier to steer if the weapon is spun down, but at the same time, it seems to be a little bit off balance in that state and seems to actually be better balanced when it's spun up, coming into the back of Cookie, jamming into the wheel. Weapon now stalled out for a moment. And I see everything moving on his hands. I don't know if that weapon wants to spin back up again. Seems to be having a little bit of trouble activating it, but pushing from behind on Cookie here. 40 seconds still to go as Cookie is trying to get towards him, but it looks like Gold Rush is in many ways the more maneuverable bot, a fair bit faster. 30 seconds to go. Gold Rush pushing into Cookie, hitting in towards the blue hazard as Cookie pushes back, trying to get out of that corner. Yeah, Gold Rush's weapon does not appear to be working, or maybe he's just trying to be safe with it. He does still have 16 seconds on the clock as he pushes Cookie's wedge into the blue hazard, grinding up against it. See little bits of stuff coming off of it with 10 still to go. Each one lining up. There we go. Now he's bringing up the weapon. 3, 2, 1, and time is over. That is the end of the fight. Good job to both Matthew and Sonia. Well done. This will be going to a judge's decision. Once again, our 3 judges have to decide based on damage, aggression, and control shown throughout the fight who will be the winner. This rookie class is very difficult, even with as a brand new driver. Just being able to get your vehicle to drive in a straight line is quite a trick. And the judges have decided the winner will be Matthew with Gold Rush. Congratulations, Matthew. Once again, now in the red corner here, we've got Rebecca driving Chop. First time for everything, hopefully not the last. And in the blue corner, Sonia driving Cookie. Everybody is in and ready to go. We will begin in 3, 2, 1, fight. All right, as you can see, these robots do not drive in a straight line. That is one of the challenges of driving a robot for your first time. Up does not necessarily mean forward, because these are designed to be powerful hitting vehicles, not the easiest driving remote control cars in your life. Oh, there we go. Chop spinning weapon up, trying to aim towards Cookie. Cookie trying to make sure that the heavy armor on the front is the thing that is facing that dangerous weapon. You wouldn't want to get hit too hard by it. And now getting from behind, underneath of Cookie, grinding away the steel armor underneath as Rebecca gets her first taste of sparks. Oh no, and the wedge on the front of Cookie is now stuck in there. And a good hard hit as she flips Cookie over. Cookie freed, and unfortunately for her, a little bit harder to drive. So now when the vehicle is flipped upside down, your controls are half reversed. Forward and backward are the same, but left and right are opposites, which is very confusing. It's like driving a bike with some gears in between to make it all go backwards. Completely counterintuitive. So Cookie's going to have a little bit of trouble there as Sonia tries to make her way around. One option for her is to run into the wall, which might flip herself, or into the hazards, which can also have a tendency to do that. Although Becca over there with Chop may just end up hitting her hard with the weapon and flipping her over as well, as she tries to come in and use that weapon against her. There we go, from behind, hitting into the armor, once again into the wheel, flips it completely over, so it is still upside down, unfortunately. And Rebecca now trying to get over there. Looks like, oh, there we go. Might be having a little bit of trouble with the drive for a moment. That does happen with these things. Another good hit from behind. I see a black screw coming out of one of them, likely Cookie.
Your weapon down and up again.
Oh, and the weapon is stopped. There we go. That weapon on top there is, oh my goodness, and the entire front has come off of Cookie, and one wheel has come off. I see wires exposed. That's not a good situation.
Trying to avoid the front of her.
And our ref, oh, there's a battery hanging out now. At what point do we stop, boys? Oh, battery's out. All right, so this is now a safety hazard, the battery hanging out. Unfortunately for Cookie, that will be a loss, so the win goes to Rebecca with Chop. Congratulations. That weapon working very well at ripping that hard titanium armor off of the front of Cookie. I don't know there was much more she could do with the front end hanging off there. Gold Rush is being driven by Matthew. This is, he is an experienced driver, but this is a new bot for him. So far, it seems to be doing all right. And it's going to be going up against Chop, driven by our definitely newest driver, Rebecca. This is her second time driving a robot. The first time she didn't even know she was going to be driving. But I think at this point she's got a handle for how it works, so now she gets to go up against a big one. In the red corner, Matthew with Gold Rush. This thing's got a rather large vertical spinning disc with hook-like teeth on it and a very triangular frame that is completely symmetrical in case he gets flipped upside down. The only disadvantage if he's upside down really is just the fact that the weapon will be spinning in the wrong direction, since we prefer to have it spin up rather than down. And the weapon does not seem to... Oh, there it goes. Now it's starting up. Having a little trouble getting the weapon going. That happens sometimes. Yeah, just press it again. You just need to get it. Yeah, give it again. No, it's fine.
There we go.
The D-bounce is a little rough on it. Both drivers are ready. The judges are ready. 3, 2, 1, fight! Both vertical spinners coming up to speed. Gold Rush taking a little bit more of time there as Chop comes in close. And Gold Rush hitting the side of that plastic and steel frame there, stalling out the weapon as Chop getting kind of stuck in the corner for a moment. It looks like the right side wheel on Chop has taken a bit of damage from that one hit from Gold Rush. A little bit bent, making it more difficult to drive, but still mobile as Gold Rush is grinding into the steel side and now into the back of Chop, hitting it again and again. Matthew does not want to give her a chance to get around to the correct side. He wants to keep hitting the back end of that robot. And Rebecca also trying to pivot around him. Of course, this is definitely a match of driving when it comes to that. Oh man, the shaft on that motor is very bent for Chop. That is going to make it very difficult to line up anything, but it is still moving, surprisingly. Although the left side drive may not be working. I think the wheel has gotten wedged against the frame, perhaps. She is pivoting around on one end. Gold Rush coming in, hitting the one remaining wheel that is mostly functioning, and chipping away at the polycarbonate front, into the wheels again, under the steel frame, flipping it up. Wants to get a good hit in here, but also having trouble lining up a solid hit. Weapon spun partly down, which does make it a little bit rough. Trying to come in for a hit. But Chop keeps wiggling around, making it difficult to hit the correct end. And it looks like the wedge on the front of Chop is a little bit lower and to the ground, a little bit closer than the one on Gold Rush, although it could just be that Gold Rush is bouncing too much from the fact that the weapon is not quite balanced. A minute and a half still to go. Gold Rush rubbing on the side of Chop once again, trying to get to the wheels. If he can get the second wheel done, he'll be completely out of the match, but it is still functioning despite. And of course, Chop does still have that spinning weapon on top, still can be dangerous if only it can get underneath of Gold Rush. But a little bit difficult to do, especially with the somewhat now bent and broken wedge on the front of Chop. This is why we'll often upgrade these things to use various titanium. Oh, there we go, almost for a moment there, went up on the wedgelet, but then slipped back off again. Now in between the two wedgelets, oh, there, spinning around again. Rebecca trying everything she can, cutting the beak off. Uh-oh, that is going to make it very difficult to get underneath him now, because that's actually going to hold him away from the weapon. Chop very much disabled at this point, still functional, but not all that dangerous, as Gold Rush rubbing on the side here, trying to hit a wheel. Having a lot of trouble driving this thing. It's a fairly bouncy ride, as you can see. Kind of like that old Crown Vic that all the shocks are worn out on. Hitting him in the front corner. Trying to hit from behind, but squirrely little robot here, Chop, like, no, you cannot. I will not make this easy for you. 10 seconds still to go. Going up on top for just a moment, but not able to hit the weapon. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and time is up in this Antweight rookie fight. Good job both to Rebecca and Matthew. All that Rebecca can do to keep that poor robot spinning, but was able to do so. Gold Rush managed to take quite a few notches out of it, but not a clear victory yet. It will go to a judge's decision. Damage, aggression, and control, the three things we consider Unfortunately for Chop, not much she could do, so the win goes to Gold Rush. Congratulations, Matthew. Rebecca just pleased his punch to be able to drive around a robot and get it destroyed, and it's not even hers. Thanks, Curtis. So that means that Gold Rush will be the rookie champion. Congratulations, Matthew! Name on a title. You know what that means, right? That means Gold Rush now has to go up against the big boys. Oh, yeah. Then we'll see that thing get destroyed. Especially when we toss it in the rumbles.
If you have program ideas that you'd like to see on maxTV Local On Demand, write us at max.local@sasktel.com.